Hey, welcome to Over for Coffee. I'm Rachel. Today we're talking about my history with disordered eating and specifically why I binge ate. So although this podcast is called Over for Coffee, today I'm drinking tea, and it's an English afternoon tea, and I don't know what that means, but I believe it's a black tea, and I have some honey and some milk in there. Are you a tea drinker or a coffee drinker? Or neither? If you have not listened to my story with disordered eating and healing from it, I will link that down below for you guys to check out. But today I am just focusing on why I binge ate. So my history with disordered eating started with intense restriction, and then I knew I couldn't sustain that, and I believe my body, one reason is I think my body got so fed up and my mind got so fed up with the restriction, and deep down I knew it wasn't healthy or sustainable, and it kind of went from one extreme to the other. And so while I was restricting, I would either restrict how many times a day I could eat. Like, okay, you can have this many foods, it didn't matter the amount. And then it went to, you can only have 3 meals. And then I was hungry all the time because I wasn't eating a lot at those meals. And so I started calorie counting, and I thought I was calorie counting to maintain my weight, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I kept losing weight. And I knew it just wasn't sustainable for the rest of my life. And I knew I needed to eat more, so that's exactly what I did. But I was eating all of the wrong foods, while at the same time still trying to maintain my weight. And for a time I was still trying to calorie count, which of course that doesn't work, trying to stay within a caloric range and eating more. So binge eating was almost like getting to let loose, eat things that I wouldn't let myself eat before, eat amounts of things that I wouldn't let myself eat before, eat things and amounts of foods that seem ridiculous, even to this day, especially when you're not even hungry. And when you binge eat, it's not fruits and veggies that you're binging on. It's sweet and salty snacks and desserts and fatty foods that you can keep eating once your belly is full because it tastes good and it feels good. So the letting loose, quote unquote, felt good because I felt like I was in control and I could choose how much I was eating, what I was eating, when I was eating it. But when I was binging, it was usually in the evening. So I would try to be quote unquote good all day and eat well, not overeat. But when your body needs food, sometimes it will cue that you're hungry even though you can feel that your belly is full. So at the onset of my binge eating, I was still trying to restrict because I knew I was overeating in the evening, so I was trying to compensate during the day by not eating a whole lot. But at the end of the day, my body was like, hey, we need more energy, we need more food. So I would eat, and it would never be anything nutrient dense or beneficial to my body. So there was a cycle of daily restriction and binging. And of course, looking back now, I have an understanding and a grasp of why I did it. And I think at the time I even had a sense also that I was binging because I wasn't eating enough earlier in the day or throughout the day. But the day after a binge, I was ashamed that I had done what I had done last night. And so I would try to reverse it and level the playing field with myself, but that never worked. I think as time went on, binging created a distraction from the parts of life that I didn't want to deal with, whether it be stress, whether it was loneliness, being tired was one thing, being anxious, not feeling in control of my life, not knowing what I should be doing. So by binging, the eating felt good and it distracted my mind for the time while I was eating. And then when I finally stopped, my body didn't feel good, my mind didn't feel good. So it was further distraction from whatever I was avoiding. And majority of the time I binged in the evening, because in the evening, like at the time I was in high school or college. So I had classes throughout the day. And so I didn't have the opportunity to binge. But at home, I could eat and then sneak food. And even though I knew my body was going to feel bad and mentally I was going to feel bad, I knew in the evening I could just go to bed, and then my body had 6 to 10 hours to process it. And then sleep was another distraction because you didn't have to deal with the conscious world. And then in the morning, my body would feel majority better, and it would just be, I would just go through the cycle again the next day. There's an acronym that I came across a year or two ago related to why you might overeat, why you might binge eat. And the acronym is HALT, H-A-L-T, and it stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So for me, if I was restricting through the day and then I get to evening and my body says, hey, we didn't get enough energy to do what we need to do, even though my belly may have felt full, I may have not given it the energy throughout the day, so my body may have been hungry. For me, angry, if I was angry, I was suppressing it because I don't remember anger being a trigger for me. Lonely definitely could have been something, because through my restrictive eating and going into binge eating, I self-isolated a lot. I pulled away from activities and friends. And looking back now, and even now, when I am getting that social fulfillment from friends, from family, from just being, even if I'm not one-on-one interacting with people, just going out to a cafe or even the grocery store or things like that, that brings some sense of fulfillment, just being in a community, being with community, being around other human beings. So at that time, I wasn't like, I went to school, I came home, I went to school, I came home. And even though I was in class with my classmates and I was at home around family, there wasn't a lot of like deep emotional connection. And I didn't have a bad experience in high school, but I wasn't super close with a friend group. I liked my classmates and we were all cordial. I was closer with some than others, which is normal. But I was so turned into myself, being obsessed with food and food having its control over me, that I think I was not getting that social communion that we as humans need, to one extent or the other. And then tired, I think even to this day has a huge impact on my eating. So food is energy. I remember specifically in high school, in the evening, late at night, doing homework or studying, and I was so tired. And I don't remember if it was suggested to me or I mentioned the effect and it was confirmed to me that chocolate has caffeine in it. So I remember, I think the first time that I did this was I was studying and I was getting drowsy and I went and I got a piece of chocolate and I ate that and I could feel a little bit of a boost from it. So as time progressed, I didn't think of food that way as being energy, but I think subconsciously I knew and my body knew that food is energy. So if you're tired, we're going to be craving food because you're not going to bed Therefore, we're going to eat more food because you need energy to stay awake. And for me, in high school and in college, there were a lot of late nights because I did not like studying. I did not like doing homework. I usually had quite a bit of it, and I would like procrastinate, and so it would take me into the late evening just working on homework. Therefore, a lot of those triggers would compile themselves together, like restricting through the day, and then my body not having enough energy, and being tired, and not getting the communion with people that I needed. So at the start of my binge eating, a lot of it was because I had restricted my body so much. I wanted freedom to enjoy however much dessert I wanted, however much salty, crunchy snacks I wanted. So it felt like a personal revolt against my own self. So I was just battling myself, feeling like I could control the food when in reality it was controlling me. And I couldn't put any energy I couldn't put the amount of energy that I had the potential to put in to relationships and activities. And then there's a sense of enjoyment when you eat, when you kind of go crazy with eating more cookies than a serving, or just eating more of the what we call bad food than you probably should. There's probably some chemical release that is satisfying to our brain. And that put together with, again, being hungry, probably a subconscious loneliness and not realizing it, and then definitely being tired, are the reasons that to date, considering myself healed from binge eating, even though some of those reasons still cause me to trip up every once in a while, looking back, those are the reasons that I binge ate. The first one being it all starting off from me restricting myself, restricting what I could eat and how much of it I could eat and when I could eat. God is good though. I wish I didn't have to go through that, but if me sharing my story can help someone, or just feel like a community that can help someone heal from disordered eating, that is my hope. If you guys want to hear more from me about my passion for food and health and fitness that stemmed a lot from my experience with disordered eating and healing from it, I would encourage you to subscribe. Thank you guys for listening. And if you're curious as to what helped me overcome binge eating, go ahead and click here right on screen, and I'll see you guys there.